Day 7, friend. Welcome back to the 10-Day Entrepreneur Challenge. Today is an extremely powerful message. This one thing has helped me completely change the trajectory of my life. It's helping me break through fears. It's helping me break through challenges. It's helping me live with more love, with more freedom, and have a lot more fun. This one thing was what I've been missing for over 20 years. It's fascinating to me the fact that this was not something that was brought to my attention. Or if it was, I just wasn't listening because the noise was just so loud. The noise inside my head, the noise inside my body, it was so loud. That one thing is truth. The truth will set you free. And if you ever heard that line, I've heard it for years, but I never really understood it. I never lived into it. I think that's a better way to explain it. I didn't live into it. It was because I was so afraid. I was so afraid to speak my truth. I was so afraid to even sometimes tell the truth, right? Speak the truth, tell the truth. And I was holding so much in. See, what's really fascinating is, the opposite of truth is lie. And when I talk about lying, it doesn't mean that you're just out there lying to everybody. Most of the time, you're just lying to yourself. Or you're creating these stories in your head. This is something I did a lot. I would actually act out stories in my head. Something would happen, right? Whether it was with a client, a family member, a loved one, my wife, and I would start creating stories. In my mind, I would be looking at a situation and be like, okay, what does this mean? Well, it could mean this, and it could mean this, and it can mean this. And if this happens, then this can happen. And it's I was going through all of this stuff in my mind when all I had to do was just ask or speak, right? The truth will set you free. Are you speaking your truth? Are you asking questions, clarifying questions? This completely, I'm going to say has saved my marriage. Because when you start being vulnerable and you start speaking your truth, just magic happens. I wish I could explain it in more detail. But there's a scripture I read recently. It says, everyone who speaks of truth hears my voice. And that's what happened for me. I started deciding that I was going to ask, is this true more often? Meaning, when I had a thought or an idea, I would ask myself, is this true? Is that true? Judging someone, blaming someone. There are so many falsehoods that we are living right now. You need to challenge yourself. Challenge the thoughts. Challenge your beliefs. Challenge your actions. Challenge other people. I am not afraid to call you out anymore. I will flat out say, is that true? It was really interesting. I was with a one-on-one coaching client. I think this is a great example. We were having this discussion, and he's a big fan of football. They were at a playoff game, and I don't know if you've ever been to a sporting event, but when you go to a sporting event and you've got two teams, and then you've ever seen those TikTok videos or stuff where you have two people are going at it, and it's the home team and the away team. And it was interesting because we're having this conversation. And he basically said this, he goes, yeah, those fans are all a bunch of assholes. That's what he said. Those fans, they're all a bunch of assholes. And I go, is that true? You mean every single fan, you think that they're an asshole? And he was like, well, probably not all of them. Well, exactly. You just classified every single one of their fans as one type of person. Is that really true? And the answer is no, right? We are all completely different personalities, different styles, but that's what happens. We create these agreements, we create these beliefs, and we hold on to them so tightly, but we don't question them. And what happens is that we start living our lives in this fantasy land. When if you would just speak your truth, there's so much conflict that goes away when you share. See, one of the biggest difficulties for me was I didn't want to hurt other people's feelings. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. I don't like confrontation. I would do anything I could to not have a confrontation. When now I realize that confrontation is necessary. It's absolutely necessary because sometimes you need to speak your truth and you need to tell people, what are your needs? What are your wants? How do you feel? Right? If you have somebody close to you and they say something and you feel a certain way, now I'm not saying it's their fault, but let them know. Be like, hey, you know what? I'm feeling really angry about this scenario. Can you kind of, like, this is how I'm seeing it. Can you explain it to me a little bit more? Like, it's fascinating what happens with truth and vulnerability. Now, truth is the action, right? One, asking yourself, is this true? Speaking your truth, telling the truth. This is an action. Vulnerability is the courage. Vulnerability is power. It is absolute strength. And people want to hear your struggle. They want to hear your story because we all have them. It's relatable. That's how connection happens a lot here on social media and video and things like that, is that by sharing your story, by sharing your vulnerability, one thing that I learned is, like, your mess is your message. Because everyone has it. Everyone struggles, everyone challenges. The truth shall set you free. So where in your life do you need to add some truth? Right now, you're thinking exactly of where you need to speak your truth. You're thinking exactly of your fear right now, of what's the one thing that's holding you back because of this. What's the one thing holding you back because you're afraid, because you're not being vulnerable? And where is the one belief? What's the one thing that you need to be asking yourself right now? Like, is this actually true? What happens is we slap these labels on and we just, I said it earlier, we hold on to these beliefs. Oh, because we want to be right. It's not always good to be right. It's good to be curious. It's good to ask powerful questions. It's good to share what you do believe. But I think that more people need to ask, is this true? And do some research. Oh my gosh, like this just came to me. The news, oh my goodness. Do you believe everything that you absolutely see on the news, on social media? Do you really believe absolutely everything? You only believe the stuff that you believe in until you can prove it not to be true. Something is only true until you prove it wrong. And something only is wrong until you prove it right. And so there's this beautiful gift of asking powerful questions. Truth and vulnerability. I'm going to skip right to the challenge because I think I got my point across. I want to make sure you understand that this is extremely powerful. Do you want to feel more freedom? So one of my emotion words is freedom. I am a free man, free to be who I truly am. And in order for me to be my authentic self, I should have started with this. In order to be my authentic self, I have to have truth. I have to be vulnerable. And here's what's really cool about becoming your authentic self is that you attract the people you actually want to invest time with, that you want to spend time with. You attract the opportunities that are best for you. See, we play pretend a lot. I played pretend for years because I was always doing what I thought everybody else wanted me to do or what they needed me to do or what they thought was in their best interest. And I didn't do what I thought. I played pretend. One of the reasons that my life is, I don't want to say the word exploding, but I want to use the reason I feel more freedom, the reason I feel more love was because of truth and vulnerability. And I'm going to give you a reading assignment today, right? I love reading books. I read every single day, and I'm at the point where I like to master books. This book I read for over a year, multiple times, and it's called The Four Agreements. It's a beautiful book written by Don Miguel Ruiz that kind of helps starting to guide in this direction. Like if you go into this book thinking you want to be more your authentic self, you want more truth and more vulnerability, these four agreements will help you get there. See, we all have agreements that we've made with ourselves. And if you can get to the point where you can switch some of those agreements with some that are positive, it'll change your life. So the four agreements are this. The first one is be impeccable with your word. Be impeccable with your word. Do what you say you're going to do. Truth. Do what you say you're going to do. See, I'm not even going to go into it. Just go read the book. It's amazing. Do not get it on Audible. Get it in paperback. It's much more powerful that way. The second one is don't take anything personally. Don't take anything personally. You want to know why? Is because typically it has nothing to do with you. When somebody yells at you, gets mad at you, judges you, like it usually has nothing to do with you. It's just a mirror of themselves. It's their own insecurities. And we take so much personally. It's like, it's amazing what happens. When you're your true self, you don't take it personally anymore because they either like you for you or they don't. Like it just is what it is at that point. The other one is don't make assumptions. We talked about stories in your mind, I believe in the last one, I don't know if it was just now, but stories in your mind, like don't make assumptions. Don't assume anything. We assume so much all the time, constantly assuming that, based on somebody's actions, this and that. Ask more powerful questions. Don't make assumptions. And the fourth is always do your best, even when you're not your best. These 4 agreements have been extremely instrumental in me living with more truth and vulnerability. I highly suggest it. So, where do you need to have a little more truth? Where do you need to be vulnerable? And can you do that once every single day? So I'm going to write down the 4 agreements. The 4 agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I'm like writing really fast here. 4 agreements. Great book. But I want to challenge you that every single day, write down this question, is it true? And just start thinking about it. And challenge your thoughts. Challenge when you get, here's the beautiful part of this is that when you feel a negative emotion, when I feel a negative emotion, I will ask myself, is this true? Sad, angry, frustrated, depressed, disappointed, hurt. Like, start asking yourself these questions like, did I take something personally? Did I make an assumption? Did I do my best? Was I impeccable with my word? These 4 agreements pretty much will tie and help you break through these negative emotions you're feeling if you take it seriously. But here's one more piece of the puzzle here. I read this book from front to back, okay? Now, the way that I learn, the way that I study, the way that I enjoy is that if I find something that's actually going to help me or that I'm really, I can't think of the word of it right now, but what I did was I read the whole book and then I went back and read 1 chapter every day for a week, meaning I read the same chapter every day for 7 days straight. Then I went back to the next chapter. I integrated it. I wanted to learn it. I wanted to explore. I wanted to solidify new habits. Now, they say that it takes around 60 days to create a new habit. I'm a 90-day guy. So all of these things that you're planning, schedule for the next quarter or for this quarter. Finish the quarter strong every 90 days. Because if you do something every day for 90 days, at the end of the 90 days, it's going to become a habit. It's going to be something that you're going to be aware of. And here's the other thing is, I don't know what the result's going to be for you, and you don't either. Don't make assumptions because things never work out the way that we actually think they do. We're going to get the result that we deserved based on the actions that we take. And if you want to clear your mind, if you want to be more your authentic self, if you want more truth and vulnerability, then this is what it's going to take. You guys, day 7, absolutely, you guys, awesome to be here. I will see you tomorrow on day 8. Have a fantastic day.